And so that means we are back with episode 102 of Money Moves. I
just
know,
blew
right?
right past 100.
Just clipping right along. So, another awesome week, helping some families, making a difference, educating some people on their money moves that they can be making. And folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not making money moves, you need to do two things. Number one, click that little subscribe button down below. And number two, hit that little bell. Give us a like, a heart, thumbs up, whatever you need to do to show some love. Help us with those algorithms and helping other families. But today, we got some great stuff to talk about. What are we talking about today, Wendy?
Talking about relationships and your money, the money part of your relationships.
Yeah, not the relationship with money. We do that,
right.
But this is, you and your partner, significant other, whatever you want to call it, right? And we're going to be talking about communication and how communication, specifically about money, is really the cornerstone to success in that relationship. So if you know somebody that's in a relationship and they need some help with their money, give them a quick shout out, blackswanmoney.com, hop on our YouTube channel, catch it on Facebook or whatever. But we're going to get started here in just a few seconds. And we're back. So let's talk about it, Wendy. I mean, I know we've had multiple clients that we've sat in together and had communications with in regards to, what their situation is. And I'm amazed, and I know you have too, because you've commented on it, how really and typically one-sided the financial aspect of the relationship is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to preface this by saying that I did everything wrong. Okay. Sometimes I speak from my own experience of like doing stuff the wrong way. So for anyone that knows me that's watching this and like, oh, who are you to preach? Right. I just want to say that up front. I did everything wrong in my last marriage. And I took all the burden of making it, managing it, and spending it myself, which obviously was not healthy. But yeah, in like our conversations with people, it's typically it might be one person that makes it, one person that manages it, and they might be the different people, or they might be the same person. But typically it's not at all equal. It's like, we don't see couples that are both really in the loop as to what's going on.
And even if you are the person, because my situation personally was I don't want to say it was wrong, but it was incorrect. I guess that's a more softer way to say it was wrong. But I made the majority of the money, and I also was the one kind of in control of it. And we did some things to kind of hey, so that way that person knows what's going on. But it wasn't like it wasn't full transparency. And what I'm not saying it was in a negative or intentional or malicious intent, right? It was just lack of communication. And, some people just don't like to get involved in that or worry about it. And, but also people have different philosophies or views. Somebody may be a saver, somebody may be a spender. Somebody may think in the relationship that it's okay to go and drop $200-300 if you want something. Right. And then maybe that's the way they were raised or whatever. And the other person. So bottom line, folks, we're going to talk about ways to communicate and how you should be communicating. But if you're not communicating, you're headed towards a train wreck. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's going to come up because somebody in that relationship is going to get frustrated. And we'll share a couple scenarios without naming any names. But, it's a situation where you both want to be in the loop. And so we've got some real simple tips that you can use to kind of stay plugged in. So,
I had a conversation this week that like broke my heart, but I like felt it, and I actually think it's a good thing, right? When we recognize where we're at and what we're doing wrong. But one relationship where, wife makes good money, but also spends, and husband manages it all. And she had no idea that he was behind the scenes like stressed out to the max, trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to not make her stress that money was tight. And I did the same thing. I know in my marriage, I was like, I don't want him to know anything, because when it gets hard, I know I'm the one that's making the money. So I'm the one that needs to come up with, I thought I had to be all things all the time, you know, and I put that burden on me, and not saying they're, you know, whatever, everyone has their own piece to play. But to me, like, I took on all this burden, and I saw that happen with this, you know, relationship. One takes on all the burden and all the stress, and the other one has no clue. You know, you might have a moody spouse and you don't know why they're moody, and it's because they're financially strained, but they don't want to put that strain on you. Yeah. Right. So out of protection and love, they hide it from you. I don't feel like we see much of hiding it to be malicious. It's more hiding it out of protection.
Yeah.
But
and I would agree. I think that's 95% of the situations is where it's, you know, they're hiding it to protect the other spouse, or because, okay, maybe in that situation that's, you know, spouse B was making the money. So spouse A felt, okay, well, if they're making all the money, then it's my job to kind of manage it, and I'm screwing up my job and I don't want them to know, or whatever. But that's the key. And, you know, so how do you overcome that? And first of all, you need to be communicating. I know some of you out there just like, finances, you know, first of all, money's fun. If it's not fun to you, you're doing it wrong. I'm just going to put it out there like that. You are doing it wrong. Right. But it's so much more fun to have, you know, that communication going in, that teamwork, right? Because finances, it's a team sport. Okay. So, you know, I think the first thing is to kind of get together and have a conversation. This is kind of step one on what are your financial goals? And I'm not talking about this full blown, you know, you don't have to go into a full blown 20-year plan or anything like that. But how do you feel about debt? How do you feel about savings? How do you feel about, you know, growing? What do you think retirement would look like? You know, what should we do together? And find out, you know, how closely in alignment the two of you really are or are not.
Yeah.
And
we ask a question when we, you know, do planning with people, and, you know, when we're as a husband and wife, and we're like, okay, so what kind of money do you want to be making in retirement, and at what age do you want to retire? And it's funny sometimes the difference. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
One's like, 70 and I only need this much. And the other one's like, I want to retire in 10 years and I want triple that, you know? So yeah, just being in alignment there is a start.
Well, and that's that right there. Because if you both are in the same car, so to speak, and you're both trying to go to different places, you know, for example, you know, you and your spouse may say, you know, hey, let's go to Disney. They both smile and say, okay, yeah, let's go to Disney. They both get in the car, they're loaded up, and one's thinking Disney out in California, the other's thinking Disney in Florida, and they start, all of a sudden there's big problems. Now, that's a little simplistic and kind of an analogy there, but that's kind of what happens, because if you don't realize where the spouse is going because you're not communicating about it, then that's a big, big problem. So, you know, the first one is to actually have a conversation on, what does all of that mean to you? Where do you want to go? What are we trying to accomplish here? And then the second thing, it goes back to building the spending plan, right? Because you've got to have a plan in place to get there. And I'm not even talking about, you know, a financial plan. That's different. I'm talking about a spending plan, not a budget. A budget's like, right? A spending plan is, you know, looking at, I want to be able to spend stuff, but I want to spend it with intention. Right. I want to be empowered to know where my money's going, and I want to be able to in control before I spend it. A budget, a spending plan is not keeping track of money you've already spent. That is not a budget. That's what most people in middle class think, but you are wrong. A budget is saying, okay, this is how much I want to spend in each area. And part of that is your wealth, or some people call it retirement. I like to focus on wealth. Because I want access to my money in my 40s and 50s, not just in my 70s and 80s, right? So getting together and having a spending plan on what do we want to accomplish. If we're going to, you know, we're going to be able to retire at, you know, 60, 65, 70, whatever the number is, it's called math. You've got to have the math in place to know if you're on track or behind. And that's where a financial planner can come in, right? Which we'll talk about that in a second. But so, you know, step two is getting that spending plan. I know you've got some good points on that to add on that. So,
Well, I mean, you covered a lot of it, but yeah, it's telling your money what to do instead of tracking where it went. And it's, I think, doing it together. Like somebody said this to me as I was going through my divorce, was like, you don't realize when you sign those marriage papers, you're actually going into a business contract. And it's something you don't think about. Like you're going into a business contract with someone and it's 50-50 unless you say it otherwise. And so whatever debt your spouse accumulates, even if it's in their name, that's your debt too when you leave the marriage. Like there's
something about for better or worse was mentioned. So
so all of that, and so having a plan where you come together and you're saying this is what we're doing and everybody's on the same page. So then, should something go wrong, everybody knows what's up with the financial side of things. And like you said, it could be fun. I mean, you came up with us telling our clients this, but when you're building your plan, like grab a bottle of wine, make it a date night, right?
Well, this is the third step too, going into, the just having a plan or a spending plan is what we're talking about now. That's not enough, right? Because most people, what they do is they put a budget and they'll never look at it again. So this goes to what Wendy just mentioned, is the third step is to have financial meetings. Okay. And I know that's like, what are you talking about? It's not that big of a deal, folks. So if you're paying, like most people pay their bills twice per month, right? And if you're paying your bills, twice a month, okay, then you need to meet with each other twice a month. Grab it on a Saturday afternoon, lunch, grab a bottle of wine, and just, hey, what bills are we paying? What are we putting away for our wealth strategy? This kind of the other. What are we putting away for our travel and entertainment budget for the year? Because we got that big trip planned later in life. Are we on track? This, that, or the other. And you meet together, go through it. It's going to take you maybe 30 minutes, right? So drink quickly with the wine. So it's going to take you maybe 30 minutes, but everybody's up to speed and you're using some kind of a software to help you out. And there's a lot of great tools. If you need some tools, let us know. We've got some great free tools that we can recommend for building a spending plan for you and your spouse or partner or whatever, depending on, either you're a high level person, you like a lot of detail and a lot of, and everything in between. Or if you're old school in the Excel sheets, we've got some of those too that we can share with you, no charge. But that's something that has to happen. And you do it on the first, pay your bills. Get together. We got bills due. It's, it's later part of the month. So most people paid their bills on the 15th. Boom. You get together on that Saturday too for a quick 30 minutes. Hey, here's our financial plan. Boom. And everybody is in the loop at that point. Everybody knows what's going on. And that is so, so important.
Yeah. It's your business meeting for your relationship there. So I love it.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, the big risk is if you're not doing this, right? If you're not doing this, what happens is one spouse or one partner becomes complacent and they don't worry about it. So they go into spending. Well, the checks keep going. I mean, the ATM keeps saying approved. So what's the problem? And the other person may be drowning with stress and things like that and be afraid, or they don't want to cause problems, or maybe it is causing problems because if they bottle it up, what's going to happen? It's just going to blow up one day.
Come out in other ways. Yeah.
Exactly. So, looking at that, and this is where you go into the next thing is that financial plan. And that's really the fourth is, okay, now we've kind of got our short term intact on what we want to do. Now we want to start focusing on that long-term growth. How can I start getting it? And that's where, sitting down with a coach and building out a financial plan. If you need somebody, Wendy and I are here. If you don't have somebody, if you already do, great. Just make sure they're in alignment with what you're trying to do. And they offer everything, not just one thing. We see that a lot too. But the big problem is if that communication isn't going on, then all of a sudden something happens.
Yep.
Divorce, death. Yep. It happens. I mean, and then all of a sudden the other spouse has absolutely zero clue what's going on.
Yeah. And we've seen both. I mean, there was a conversation this morning on our team meeting and, two people saying about have clients going through divorces. And they're like, I have no idea what situation I'm in, right? They're going through divorce and they're clueless. Yep. Or, I had a situation a couple years ago where somebody's husband passed away and she didn't even know how to access bank accounts, you know? And so those are things that if you're not on the same page, if you're not both tuned in, like it's scary if something happens.
Yep. No, and that's and folks, you'd be surprised. We see that more than you realize, right? That's not the one-off, right? And you're not alone. If you're kind of running your finances like this, like I said, we run into it all the time. So you're not alone. So don't beat yourself up, but don't just sit there and accept it either. Do something about it. And you know what's going to happen is by both of you communicating with one another on what's going on in the finances. Number one, there's no surprises. Number two is you're both going to feel like you're working together. So it's actually going to bring you closer together because you're working. Now, if there's a situation where, oh my gosh, that person's spending all this money and well, that tells me you're unequally yoked, right? And you have a conversation to address it and come up with a solution for it. But now you at least know what's going on rather than something happening down the road and there's a big explosion, so to speak. So just to recap, number one, you know, you've got to talk to each other about what are your financial goals and where are you trying to, you know, get to. Number two is develop that spending plan together. If you need tools or whatever, let us know. Reach out to Wendy Lee online or, you know, johncleaver.com. We'll get you connected, right? Number three is set those financial meetings and have them 15, 30 minutes every 2 weeks. That's all it's going to take. And you'll be amazed. Just quickly go over everything. Are we on track? Are we doing it? Oh, yeah. We have any unexpected expenses happen? What big expenses do we have coming up? And plan accordingly. And again, just zero stress, right? And then lastly is once, you know, that's kind of in place, or if you need help with that, the next chapter of that is, okay, let's get a financial plan in place now for growth, things like that. Where are we going to put our money to have our money making money for us?
That's right.
So those are the pieces. Anything else to add
So
before we
good.
jump?
I have one more thing to add, and it has nothing to do with what we've been talking about. Throwing your curveball. I'm sitting here the whole time going, we're like a couple weeks into sunshine, and all of a sudden you're 10 shades darker than me. What the heck happened?
So my family is Irish and Italian, right? I've got German Italian on my mom's side, and I was fortunate enough that I got the Italian skin. So my Irish shows in the winter. I look like I'm from, you know.
Well, you've been whiter than me on every episode until this week.
Yeah.
This week,
like I said,
oh my gosh, I need to get
like I said, no. And it's once I get out in the sun a little bit, I turn into, you know, Hector Camacho or something like that. You know, it's one of those that just I've been blessed with that olive Italian skin, so it tans up pretty well. So
there you go.
Thanks for embarrassing me. I appreciate that. So
no, that would normally be a beginning of the call conversation, but the whole time I've been on here, I'm like, dang, he's tan. Anyway, I was in the Bahamas last week, but whatever.
Yeah, there you go. So
anyway, good stuff. Good.
All right, everybody. Again, show some love. Give us a little support. Click that like button, that subscribe button, and tell your friends. We're trying to grow the channel, and we need your help to do that. It's not going to happen without you, right? If you're getting good content, tell us about it. Okay, we'd really love to hear that. If you're watching this after the fact on a replay, and you can catch all 101 preceding videos at blackswanmoney.com. Do us a favor, please share it on your social media. Help us grow. We're not trying to sell anything on here. You can watch every video, and we mention what we do, but the content my whole thing is always trying to bring meat to the table, so to speak, and making sure you're walking away, because middle class is getting crushed out there, and we're trying to do what we can to educate you on the finances so you can do your part for you and your family. So I hope it's helping. Give us a thumbs up if it is. And even if it's not, give us a comment. We'd love to find out how we can better serve you. So everybody have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday back on another Money Moves.